Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? This is Jeff from BKJ Mac TV, and this is the BKJ Mac podcast experience coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. Now, tonight, I know this happened almost a week ago, actually, but I didn't do an episode about it yet, so I'm gonna do one right now. This is to formally acknowledge that OJ Simpson has passed away. He died from prostate cancer at the age of 78, I believe, or 79. Um, I was shocked. The news came in. It was like a flash bulletin. I was able to record some of it and put it on my YouTube. And what I noticed was I just wasn't, I was shocked, but I wasn't disappointed because I realized one thing. I've always heard this man talk yik yak and whatever. And I believe OJ Simpson murdered Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman back in 1994. And it's ironic, he died in 2024, 30 years earlier. I believe he killed these two individuals in 94. Now, I don't know if you call it coincidence or not, but he lived on this earth for 30 more years and he got taken away, you know. And apparently he died with his kids, his lawyer, his grandchildren by his side on his deathbed. There were rumors about his health concerns, like he was losing weight. He went on to deny those rumors. He said he was great when actually that was a lie. I'm not surprised that he would lie about that. Um, to me, OJ Simpson did it because there's no other person that came out otherwise. There was no other leads, even though the LAPD and their crime scene investigators botched the scene tremendously. It's not the first time LAPD has botched murders investigations. They've done it many times before. So it's like they have a pattern of doing that bullshit. So OJ Simpson, I believe, was given a get out of jail free card at that moment because the LAPD had botched the case so badly and because there was so much racial tension in the city. A couple of years, 3 years earlier, Rodney King gets assaulted by police officers on the roadway. Somebody testing out their camcorder records the whole thing, the whole event, and the officers are all acquitted, but they got charged with civil rights violations in federal court, but in state court they were all acquitted of not violating Rodney King's civil rights, which was a travesty and a miscarriage of justice. But they moved it in an area where it was predominantly white, and they didn't understand the context or the tense of the situation, the crux of the situation. So when they did that, they did it. They voted not guilty, not knowing that they're not guilty to these officers was not gonna cause any physical harm. They thought it was gonna be a cakewalk when in actuality they were wrong. It caused the LA riots. Their verdict, their stupid, untimely verdict and decision caused a massive LA riot. And a lot of people were hurt, killed, property was damaged, destroyed. It was a nightmare in that moment in time. And then flash forward a few years later, there's a lot of racism, a lot of prejudice that's going on in the case by the LAPD. I think there was Mark Foreman, who was known to use the N word, and in a sense, he had pled the fifth, giving juries believe the sense that wait a minute, we don't want to get this wrong. We don't want to get this wrong and vote O.J. Simpson guilty. And then Was there a possibility that he did plant the gloves there? It made him. It created too much doubt. It created a lot of doubt, and that's what the defense wanted to do, was punch in a lot of doubts in the prosecution's evidence against OJ. And I think the worst one was when the Marshall Clark's assistant attorney, or second lead attorney, basically had OJ Simpson put on the gloves, the leather gloves that was found in the murder scene, to see if the gloves fit. And the gloves didn't fit because gloves typically shrink. So the fact he made OJ Simpson try on the gloves in front of the national audience, who were glued to this case, who were glued to this trial, and the jury watching every single moment of it, and they watch how the prosecution team botched it so badly, giving the defense yet another critical win. And then the Goldmans and the Browns are sitting there and they're looking in disbelief. They're like, this is the worst prosecution I've ever seen in my life. Like, they can't even prosecute this guy. The defense is making a joke out of the prosecution team. And I think, man, there was a sports announcer who works at NBC. He did the NBA games. His name is not coming to my head right now. And I was just watching an interview, and he said how he sat next to Johnny Cochran, and he talked about how why didn't the prosecution team use this type of argument. Costas, his name is Costas, and why didn't you use this type of argument at the closing end of the argument? Why, of the case, from the prosecution side, to say, hey, I don't know why they didn't do it. I think they were overwhelmed and they were trying to get a guilty verdict, and it failed miserably. So if anything, when the jury acquitted OJ Simpson, they didn't acquit OJ Simpson because they acquitted OJ Simpson. They acquitted OJ Simpson because the prosecution failed miserably. The prosecution was a disgrace. The prosecution team led by Marshall Clark was trash. And they were not able to convince the jury that OJ Simpson did it, even though they knew OJ Simpson did it. I believe OJ Simpson did it. You have to prove that in a court of law. The threshold is very high. You cannot convict someone on circumstantial evidence. And in their point, they did it on flimsy circumstantial evidence. They couldn't even get them there. They just did not present it properly to the jury for a conviction. And it was there. So OJ Simpson getting off is just not on I felt like off a technicality because of the prosecution's gross misconduct in the trial process. So and then if OJ proved that he didn't do it, why no one else came out and said that I did it? There was some loony that had that said that he had did it. He worked for OJ. There was some white dude, but it came out to be a hoax because he was an attention seeker and stuff like that. So it didn't really make no sense. But no one else stepped up to the scene. No one else stepped up. No one else stepped up to the scene. There was no one looked at. There was just, all eyes was pointing at OJ Simpson, and I think the black community understood that. I think they were just caught up by the acquittal, the false acquittal of the officers that had beat up Rodney King, that maybe they didn't see clearly that this guy was going to use it to get away. But I'll tell you this, OJ Simpson has to meet his maker. He has to deal with that consequence in the afterlife. protections anymore from this reality. His soul is crossed over into the new reality, and he has to deal with that, with that scrutiny. Now, a lot of people were defending him. I know Cameron and Mace calling him Uncle O, defending him, having dinner with him, having lunch with him. I mean, they're entitled to their opinion. They're entitled to their defense of OJ Simpson, you know. But, that's their opinion. At the end of the day, I believe the evidence was there. Maybe he didn't do it. We don't know. But I think America knows that he did it. And now he's gone 30 years after the deaths of Goldman, of Mr. Goldman and Miss Brown. God rest their souls in heaven. Because the way they died, they should never have died that way. It was a tragedy. It was sad, and it was very grotesque, and it was sad that they died that way. So I pray for their spirits in heaven. I definitely do, for sure. And OJ, he's paying for it on the at the in the afterlife. Let's say we don't know, but he leaves this earth with a level of I guess with a level of dignity. People know him as the Juice, and people go up and take pictures with him and stuff like that. He's OJ Simpson, the former Heisman Trophy winner, the former Buffalo Bills star running back and star receiver, Mr. TV personality, Brentwood living. That was OJ Simpson, a potential killer. We never know. But that was OJ Simpson in a nutshell. OJ did what he did, and he lived the lifestyle to back it up until the very end when all of it was taken away from him. Because the moment the trial ended, he lost all his endorsements. He lost everything. No one didn't want to touch him no more. It is what it is. So that is what the value of OJ Simpson. If you think OJ Simpson did it, let me know in the comment section. If you think he didn't do it, tell me why. All right, this is another episode of the BKJ Mac podcast experience. Thank you for listening. Peace, love, always. One.